All right, we are now live. RTD Live Talk with Mike featuring DR Schoon. And so, Daryl, thank you for joining me on such a short notice. We've been working out some technical difficulties, but thank you for joining us. Got a little feedback here. And so, Daryl, thank you for joining me on such a short notice. We've been working out some technical difficulties. I got about all these screens open. All right, let me cut this off. So here we go. So side effects of having technical difficulty. But Daryl, welcome to RTD Live Talk. I'm glad to sit down with you. It's been a while since we've had a chance to catch up. So welcome to a live stream. And so it's midday, so we'll see who tunes in and joins us. But I'm interested in getting your thoughts on what's happening around the world and what's happening with the recent Fed hike that happened just yesterday. And also, just get your thoughts on where we're heading and how this thing will play out, in regards to a recession talk, because there's a lot of people saying that we're currently in one, never fully recovered from the last one. And so with that being the case, let me turn the mic over to you. Where are we at now in this current economy and this economic expansion, in your opinion?
Well, Mike, I just saw what's on your T-shirt, the image.
Yeah.
And that image really captures what's going on. All right. We are in new times. All right. This is it's never happened before. We are at the end. A system is collapsing. And what the system is capitalism. Capitalism really is a system where the economy is manipulated by credit and debt, by infusions of credit and debt. All right. We think this is what you call a free market, but it isn't. It's a manipulated market and always has been. All right. And it's the free market is manipulated by infusions of credit, which initially cause growth. All right. But credit instantly turns into debt on the other side of the ledger. All right. And the thing with debt is that it constantly compounds. All right. If you owe $10 a day and do nothing about it, next year you're going to owe more. The only thing you've done is gone out, gone to sleep, got married, had kids. All right. But if you don't pay that down, it's going to explode on you. All right. This game was designed by the bankers to make money off of the issuance of money, which they got to issue as credit-based debt. All right. So the credit goes into the economy, induces growth initially. All right. But what it also sets in motion is compounding debt. Now, what central bankers do is they do a balancing act. They try and keep the growth balanced by credit and debt. All right. And when there's too much credit, you get into what they call, when they first put credit in, it's called an economic expansion. All right. When the credit can't expand anymore, it's like you can't push on a string more than you can push on it without when it won't really move. Then you get what you call a contraction, or what we call a recession. All right. Now, so that's what you have. You have expansion, contraction, recession. All right. These are all functions of central bank credit and debt. Now, this game has been going on in the United States since 1913. All right, when they put the Federal Reserve in. Before, we didn't have these kinds of, the ebb and flow of credit in the United States. Since 1913, we have. All right, and we've had this extraordinary compounding debt that's been building up. So we're over 100 years later, and it can't take anymore. There's a certain limit. All right, and I assume that the listeners or viewers on this program are very, very aware of the amount of debt that we have. All right. And this is cumulative. The thing is that the cumulative amount of debt has increased greatly since the 2008 economic collapse. Why? Because the economic collapse set in motion vast deflationary momentum. All right. And what happens is that when you have too much debt defaulting, all right, money starts disappearing. Why? Because in a capitalist economy, money isn't money as it was before. Money in a credit and debt capitalist economy is merely credit and debt in motion, moving. That's what we call, quote, the velocity of money. How fast credit and debt is moving through the economy. When you have a collapse of a huge speculative bubble, which we had in 2008, debts just take the place of credit. It's gone. So it's not only does it disappear, it weighs on the economy. All right. So you've got like a sinkhole with all of a sudden the life force draining out the bottom of the container. All right. So what the central bankers did, they poured more money on top to keep it level. Otherwise, there would be no economy. It would disappear down the sinkhole. All right. Now, they didn't fix the hole. They just poured more money in it.
Right.
All right. So what you've got now is you've got a situation. It's like steroids. It worked for a while. All right. If your physical condition responds to steroids, you feel great for a while. Oh man, I feel better. 2 years later, your eyesight starts going. All right. I mean, cumulatively, you are in trouble. And the longer you're on steroids, the more trouble you're in. Now, the Fed and central banks have kept us on steroids for 10 years. Okay? Now, they know they've never done this before. Interest rates have never been at zero until 2009. Ever, 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 ever. Why would anybody loan money for no interest? Why would you give money to anybody at no interest? All right? And they never did. Until the 2008 crisis was so extreme, so catastrophic, so consequential that they did things they never did before. We're 10 years down the line. All right. 10 years down the line, I look at that picture on your T-shirt, on your shirt, and I go, man, that's where most people are at, because most people don't understand why it is the way it is. Most people, and I can totally understand this, Mike, a part of me is like that too. A part of me wants tomorrow to be like yesterday, if yesterday was good for me. All right. And it wants the day after that to be better. All right. That's just human nature. We are in for a shitstorm.
Now watch this. So now we're in the phase of this tightening. So why do you think the bankers are so intent on either stopping their easing policies and really reeling this in? What are they doing this for? What are they preparing for? What do they see?
Okay. All right. Now, I want to use the metaphor of critical care unit at a hospital. Okay. The patient, which is now the global economy, well, it's basically the U.S. economy. Let's say they have all these these doors on the critical care, on ICU. All right. And each door has a flag on it. All right. Now, the biggest door, one of the biggest doors, is the door that says the United States. We almost got the whole wing. All right. And that place is packed with doctors. All right. And they've been staring at Uncle Sam. The guy looks like crap. All right. But when they show him to the people, they all put tanning lotion on. They prop him up. They put makeup on him. You know, waiting room. They're afraid of Uncle Sam, you know, being in bad condition. All right. And if they're afraid that Uncle Sam's going to die, they're not going to buy the next car. They're not going to invest. They're not going to take on more debt. They don't want people to know how bad it is. That's why the media is always skewed to the upside. All right. If we were in a neutral reality where people were allowed to make decisions on their own, we would hear the good and bad. All right. And so now, but and you do hear good and bad, but basically you got to go to people like you to hear people like me talk about how dangerous it is. All right. In the daytime, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. Oh yes, blah, 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 blah. But you know, they'll always say, but you know, then they'll say something's going to make it better. All right. Because, and I understand it, that's just human nature. But the truth is this: those doctors in there know how bad it is. Now you ask the question, why are they tightening? All right. Because the people out there in the waiting room are going, man, this is not a good thing. Why are they going to stop a good thing? We've been walking. We've been, you know, we made it 10 years past the crash. You know, why are they going to start tightening? Because I've heard that this is going to really screw things up. The truth is this: inflation has been moving up since 2016. All right. It started ticking up last month, it was 2.8, the biggest increase for 2 years. Okay. What are central bankers afraid of? They're afraid of inflation, hyperinflation, and they're afraid of contraction, a deflationary collapse. All right. They will live with anything in between. They will live with the ups and downs.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. So right now, there's also I've been hearing the words stagflation more and more, and that's the whole detraction of our economy, as well as some assets being inflated away. So where are we at with regards to that? Are we in a stagflation? Is that a possibility that it could carry on for a while, or no?
No. But how long that while is? That a while may last 3 years. It may last 5. It may last a week.
Yeah.
All right. What you've got here, you hit it. You know what the word stagflation means to me? Okay. Let us imagine we're living on a coastline, right? Let us imagine that a tsunami is hyperinflation. All right, just where you print so much money, it's going to destroy the economy. We had hyperinflation destroy the Weimar Republic in Germany, Zimbabwe. I mean, hyperinflation is
Venezuela right now.
Venezuela right now, it gets out of control. All right, hyperinflation destroyed the first economies that ever used paper money in China. All right, Chinese invented paper money in the year 10,024. For the next 500 years, 6 dynasties all collapsed with hyperinflation.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what bankers are afraid of. Now, imagine the tsunami to be hyperinflation. Imagine a deflationary collapse to be a riptide. All right. So what you've got a building tsunami and you've got a riptide going out. Now, what it looks like is what you call stagflation. All right. It's like a mud wrestling match between two fatal players. If the thunder don't get you, then the lightning will. All right. And we are living on that beach. All right. We're going out there. You know, the fishing hasn't been real good. The weather's going bonky. You know, the government, the people who are running the village seem to be the same. They seem to be worse jerks than even we had the people who ran the village before. Yeah. All right. And we're just trying to get along and hope for the best. What is happening out there in that ocean, and we are living on the seaside, is a tsunami is building with incredible force, and a riptide is moving the opposite way. So it looks like we're in a period of stasis. It looks like we're not going forward, we're not going back, but we have a period of what you call stagflation. When that impasse breaks, you're going to have one or the other or both.
Whew, very scary, because you look at what's happening. You mentioned hyperinflation, what's happening around the world, especially in Venezuela. Do you ever see a time? Because a lot of people say it could never happen to the dollar.
Yeah,
the Federal Reserve. No. Do you ever think that we can ever reach a point of complete hyperinflation here in the United States of America?
I don't know. All right. It's like, you know, I thought about predictions. All right. And prediction, the ability to predict, to me, is a function of separating what's so from what you want to be so, and from what you're afraid will be so. What's so is just what's so. What is what is. All right. Why we all don't really predict well is some of us are skewed towards wanting it to be a certain way. Others are skewed towards fearing it's going to be another way. All right. Each one of those is going to take you off the center point. All right. So what you asked was, will it be hyperinflation? Will it be a deflation? I don't know. But it's like we're underneath a tree that has never fallen over in our lifetime. It hasn't fallen over for 200, 300 years. Okay. It's there. So we begin to assume that tree is part of everything. We begin to assume that economic contraction and expansion is normal, like the rising of the sun and setting of the sun.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's a construct of an economic system that was invented by bankers to profit by the issuance of money, and they've done so well. They've got all the money, and nobody else has anything, and everybody else is indebted. All right? Now, that tree that we've been sitting under, which gives us shade, that nuts come off of, all right? Now, the fucking baboons and gorillas or the orangutans have all the nuts. They're sitting up, they're eating they're dropping stuff on us and laughing. Some of them are. You know, some of them sort of feel sorry for us, you know, but most of them, they don't care about us. Why? Because they know, Mike, that their position in that tree has to do with us on the bottom. We're the fertilizer for that tree.
Wow. Yeah.
We're the fertilizer. All right. And even the ones at the top, I mean, if you and I were born into the top of the tree and we're of compassionate nature, we would feel sorry for those ones at the bottom. But I'll tell you, I doubt if you and I would climb down and join them.
True. Very true.
You know? And we wouldn't talk about this with our friends because our friends are like, they're sort of scared. They know that tree could fall over. They know that tree's been tilting left and right like it's never done before. So their ability to feel compassion for the ones at the bottom is really limited. I mean, the rich are as scared as we are. The difference is they have a whole lot of the money. That's the difference. So whether the tree's going to fall to the left in a total deflationary collapse like it did in the 1930s, or fall to the right in a hyperinflationary of the money supply like it did in Germany and Zimbabwe, it has happened basically to all fiat currencies throughout history. I don't know, because it's a process that has never happened before. We're watching a test tube that they have poured so much credit into, that's created so much debt. That test tube we're in a real-time test.
Yeah.
We're in a real-time test, and we're in it. So when you excuse me, when you ask me my opinion, that's all you get is an opinion.
Yeah.
You know, it may be better than anybody else's, but I'm not going to choose right this time because I don't know.
Right, but no matter what, you can't hint at the fact that it might go left or go right. It might go right, but one day it will go left or right. It will not remain standing.
That tree's going to fall.
Yeah,
that tree's going to fall.
Yeah, so that says it all. So that says it all. So it lets me know that something will happen, and it will be very uncomfortable, because the two scenarios you named, whether it's going left or going right, were both extreme situations.
They're extreme.
Uncomfortable.
That's why there are so many doctors in the ICU unit of the United States at this time. And there's a whole bunch of people behind that door of China too, and Japan. Japan, they had a crisis in 1990. It never recovered. They poured more steroids in that country.
Since we last spoke, which was, I think, was probably going about 2 years or so, because I had the privilege of having you on the earlier days of Rethinking a Dollar. Yeah. And so since then, there's been a lot of new subject matter and keywords that have come about. One being the whole push of the cashless society. And so a lot of people saying that, you know, they're using examples in the EU or whatnot. Do you think there'll come a time as a response to this collapse of the tree going left or right, that there'll be a time where, you know, cash becomes extinct and where it's no longer circulated, and then there's some alternative that's spun out to us? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. This is the thing. Those of us who have no power, I mean, in their system, and I want to make a distinction. I think metaphysically, in the big sense, we have a lot of power. Individually and collectively, but not in the way that we consider power out there. All right. Power out there in this game is basically determined by elites. All right. The ones at the top of the tree. All right. The ones eating all the fruit, but they're very concerned about that tree falling over. You know, I mean, I tell you, Mike, the ones who are in charge at the top of the tree know more about the tree falling, the possibility of the tree falling over, than you and I do. They're reading these things. They don't tell us. Like, and I told you, there's a reason. They don't want to scare the people living at the foot of the tree whose activities are necessary for the tree to stay upright. So they don't want to scare us. I mean, they have no idea what we do. We may rush the tree. We may be so mad we're going to burn the tree down. You know, say, hey, you're going to kill. We're going to take you with us. That has happened time and time throughout history, where the people at the top who have lived off everything get taken down and killed and beheaded and decapitated. All right. And another thing grows up. So they don't want to do that. They don't want to tell us that. They don't want us to know that. But these people, they have some of them, the ones who really work for them, absolutely fixated on the condition of that tree. All right. So this is where we are. They're trying to do. They've got things like SDR, special drawing rights. They know the money's in trouble. But they've never been here before. Playing with an old playbook doesn't work. Milton Friedman, the darling of the far right, the champion of quote unquote free markets and the lover of paper money, along with Keynes, the guy on the left, both of them love paper money. Why manipulate the tree? Yeah. All right. It's like so it doesn't matter. All these ideologues out there are ideologues because of gender, culture, and personality. All right. It has nothing to do with ultimate truth and what one's true than the other. The division of people today is going on. You're telling me about where you are. You know, I don't give a damn about where you are. I care about I care about what's going on. Right. All right. So the boys at the top are absolutely fixated. But let me tell you, the tree has never fallen over. And that's why they hope it will never fall over. That's not true. All right. Most people go, you know, hey, I'm doing all right. You know, sure, I'm smoking 3 packs a day and drinking a quart of Jack Daniels, but I ain't dead yet.
Yeah.
What's the assumption? He ain't gonna die. Let me tell you, he may not die from the cigarettes. He may not die from the Jack Daniels. He may die when the car hits him next week as he's talking to his little kid.
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't mean he's not gonna die, but those at the top of the tree are fixated on the tree. All right. And a cashless society is one of the ways they think is save them. Hey, you know what? I'm at the bottom of the tree. I'm looking up. I'm looking up. I can see their assholes. You know, you can see their assholes easier from the bottom than you can from the top. All right. And I know they are desperate. Why? Their whole tree depends on it. And they, excuse me.
Get your drink. Get you some drink or something like that. If you need to slow down.
It's all right.
I want you to choke.
I guess I make crap out of this program.
Yeah.
Hey, I just asked him what was going to happen, and he just fell over. At least
you are nuts, my friend. No, but I know that. So watch this. So something's happening, and the people at the top of the tree are concerned of what's going on. So, what are your thoughts on this whole introduction of cryptocurrency and the blockchain? This new technology.
All right, okay, listen.
Give me your thoughts.
Cryptocurrency came from the notion that governments had screwed up our money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That governments had screwed up our money. Why? Because ever since money started, the governments had their hand in it. Okay. Now I tell you, China was the first one that did issue paper money. All right. So that was all for the government. All right. How can we spend more than we got? That's paper money. All right. It never was the people at the bottom losing faith in a fractional reserve paper system in China. It was always the boys at the top couldn't help from taking the stabilizing where they're getting twice as much to getting 3, 4, 5, 6 times as much. All right. Now, when it moved to the West, it wasn't the governments that did it. It was the bankers. But the bankers needed the government to say their paper was real. The bankers needed the governments to say that banknote was real money because it was issued from a central bank. How they did that was they gave the governments as much money to spend as they wanted, and they saddled the debt with the people. All right? So now this is what you've got going on. You've got this system going on where it's just tilted wildly. I'm bringing back to that question. You asked, focus
about cryptocurrencies. What your thoughts are?
I got it. Okay, cryptocurrencies evolved up out of it grew. Some guy had this idea, but the reason why it took off, all right, because people are now getting fearful and suspicious, all right, of government issued money. All right. So the idea that a money not issued by a government is more stable. All right. Even though it has no value on its own. None. There's nothing backing it. All right. In fact, half of the cryptocurrencies that are in existence today are owned by what? A handful of people that started it.
Yeah.
It's like a Ponzi scheme. It's like a multi-level marketing scheme. And they let it go. But all the people at the bottom who are frantically trying to get into it hope that this is going to be an alternative to the manipulation of money by the big boy. They ran into the arms of cryptocurrency, which they thought would save them. Good luck.
Yeah. Well, that says enough right there. That says enough. So watch this. Let's move on a little bit because the tree's shaking. The people at top are concerned. They're dropping crumbs. It's drying up on the ground for us. So it's becoming obvious. We're looking up now, noticing that of the BRICS, the AIB, all these new bilateral, trilateral currency swap agreements from China and Russia. What are they preparing for? Are they preparing for a day where they will then usher in the new economy or what? What are your thoughts on what's happening outside of this country as far as developments? Utilizing gold as well with those oil futures and whatnot.
All right. Well, we're losing our connection. Okay.
There you go. You there?
All right. Yeah, I'm there. I caught your gist of it. Okay. Now imagine that that tree. There's one tree. Okay. Before there was a bunch of trees. All right. And in fact, before capitalism, the trees on the west side of the thing were pretty much equal with the trees on the west side. Okay. With capitalism, the trees on the west side with capitalism got real huge. You know what? They had fertilizer. All right. Yeah. They had printed money. They had credit debt. All right.
Fertilizer,
and it spread over. And now all the trees are getting bigger. All right. Yeah. And now they were the ones who invented paper money. All right. But the Chinese culturally are resistance to change. They wired it in. They said life is good or was good and it ain't going to get any better. We're not going to change it because those are true conservatives. The ones who wanted to stay exactly as it is. And the only ones who wanted to stay exactly as are the ones at top. But the nature of China has always been conservative, not to move. So they got very late to the capitalism's table. Very, very late. Well, you know what? They sped up. They're like junkies who discovered motherlode. All right? They broke into this room and, man, they started printing money like a... Holy smokes, they took to capitalism like your best friend took to OxyContin.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Oh, man. You hear what happened to Simon? Oh, no, man. You don't want to know. All right. He was rolling for a while, but, man, he's screwed up now. So this is where they are. Everyone we're sitting here on this podcast. This is a great podcast of yours, Mike. I like what you're doing. In fact, you know what I remember? You know what I remember about you? When you came to me, I was one of your earliest people, and I've been talking about this stuff for years. Okay. I mean, I'm on my way out. All right. Or my way up. All right. And you come in and I said, how did you get into this? And he said, I was playing professional basketball and I was traveling around the world and I noticed everything everything cost differently all around the world. I buy a toothbrush in Brazil, and I'd lose it there, and I'd be over here. I had to buy another toothbrush. Toothbrush, the same brand, know. And so you begin wondering about what is this thing of money.
Yeah,
that was an incredibly insightful observation. I have lost toothbrushes all over the world, and I never wondered about money. I began wondering from a certain point. But the truth is, everybody watching this program is wondering about money. That is what has brought us together. All right? That is what brought us together. Now, what we're talking about here is right now what is going to evolve with this system. The trading blocks, all their ideas about gold and so. Now, in a very fundamental way, there is something very simple. All right, gold or precious metals used to be the foundation of paper money in the West. This is what gave capitalism its stability. And if it had no backing, they would be trading coupons. Yeah. All right. Well, they have no backing now. So you know what they are? Trading coupons. All right. They're coupons that we believe on. All right. If I have let's say I have a really rare Aston Martin and you know it, and I know you know it. All right. And I know you want it, because you know what I got. So you call me up, we drive around the block, and I can see the love in your eyes. Okay? And how much you want for? $350,000. It's a rare car, okay? $350,000. And that's a good price. And he said, here, let me write you a check. What are you going to give me? All right? Let's say it's a cryptocurrency.
Hold on. You broke off a second. You said, let me write a check. Because right where you said that, it went blank. So let me write a check. Let me write a check. Okay. Or let me pay you in this. Let me pay you with a Bitcoin. Yeah.
All right. And let's say I'm an old fart and, hey, I don't play Bitcoin.
Yeah.
All right. Or something else happens, or you want to pay me in that I don't want to deal with. All right. You can't buy it. All right. You can't buy it. All right. Now, this is what happened in China and England in the 1700s. The English, who got so much money from printing paper money, got riches, and the English got addicted to Chinese silks, teas, and porcelain. All right, and they were buying this up out of China. But the Chinese, because they had 5 centuries of paper money, they outlawed it in 1661. So when the English showed up with their paper money, the Chinese go, "Hey, Mac, that doesn't play here."
Yeah.
All right. So what the English did, they had to give them silver. The Chinese basic currency in China wasn't even money as we know it. It was pure silver. They called them taels. They had little weighing things and they'd weigh out the silver. It was not issued by the government. After 6 centuries of financial chaos, basically the government said no more paper money, and what evolved in its place was pure silver as the form of commercial transactions. Not silver with a coin on it, a stamp, nothing. Pure silver. Okay? So the Chinese told England, we want silver. A massive amount of silver went east. It was bankrupting England until England said, we can't play this game anymore. What are we going to do? And they came up with the idea of supplying China with opium from one of their colonies, India, which is right around the corner. The Chinese got addicted to opium, solving England's balance of trade problem. Okay? So what you've got is, now you've got 100 years down the road, who has benefited from paper money more than anybody else? Well, first it was the West. It was England, which created an empire. They're a dinky little, they still are a dinky little island. Very interesting. That's dinky little island, but it's a little island. All right. I tell you, if I had an Englishman in a bar, if I had an Englishman and a Turk going at it in the street, I put my money on the Turk. They're vicious in a fight. And then maybe a Samoan. Samoans are really good at fighting too. All right. But you get a drunk Englishman and a drunk Turk and a drunk Samoan, maybe the Englishman would win. All right. In a bar. But the English really parlayed going to war on credit. They took over the world. All right. Now, what happened is that they gave it to the United States. We took over the world. Basically, we inherited England. But what we did, we screwed up the money. We spent so much money on military all over the world. The gold went. We were bankrupted in 1970. Everybody said we're down to 7,000 tons of gold. We were. In 1949, we had 21,000. In 1971, we had 7,000 to 8,000. But you know what, Mike? What they don't tell you is we owed, by my calculations, probably 30,000 tons that we couldn't cover. All right, so we just said, we closed the door. And people, you know, and we're King Tut. We're the big guy in town, so nobody's going to threaten us. Hey, oh, you promised me. Yeah. Screw you. Yeah. When little people get screwed, they can't do anything. When big people screw you, the little people can't do anything. Right. All right. So when the United States unilaterally defaulted on its gold obligation, they pulled the rug out from the international monetary system. All right. And then it began to get wobbly, real wobbly. And it's been getting worse ever since. Now, China and Russia, Marx had this theory that capitalism was going to fall, which it is. All right. But he said it was going to be replaced by communism, by the workers. It never happened. All right. Communism didn't arise by worker revolt. Communism arose first in Russia and in China, two huge feudal agrarian societies that were about to be swallowed up by the bankers from England and the West. And they knew it. They knew it. They knew that paper money was going to buy their asses up. Yeah. All right. And so they freaked out. Now, there was no alternative to paper money, and there still isn't. All right, until it craps and something else is going to happen. Yeah. All right, but back 100 years ago, 120, there was no alternative. So what they did was they got they turned to Marx. Why? Because Marx knew what was happening. He knew part of what was happening. He had no real answers any more than Adam Smith had the real answers in capitalism. And they went to this thing called communism. Communism had never been worked before. It's theory. Oh, one for all for one. Wonderful. Wonderful. Let every man benefit by what he put into it. All right. One man, one pot. Now that sounds like a Republican thing. If you didn't put anything in the pot, you don't eat. Yeah. Communism, everybody gets what they put in. Great. All right. But what they did do is that these people knew that they were going to get swallowed up by the West. So they grabbed this crap ass system that nobody ever tried before called communism. And it helped. It kept the West at bay, but it didn't work. It took 50 years for the system to crap. And now that it's crap, they're also on paper fiat money with their own with their own central banks. Yeah. Okay. So what they're in as much trouble as anybody else, but they have a memory. They are buying and have been buying as much gold as they can for the last 10 years. Russia and China are the two largest gold producers in the world. There are laws in those countries prohibiting the export of any gold. And not only are they mining the most gold and keeping it, they are buying the most gold. All right? And what's the United States doing? Oh, we're selling the gold. What's England doing? They're selling all their gold too. All the gold is just steaming out of Switzerland.
So my question is, knowing that, why are they selling why is the West selling so much gold and it all going and it being accumulated out east? Like, why would we do that? Is that a part of keeping this paper scheme together or what?
Because once you're committed to a bad strategy, you can't change. Yeah. I tell you, there's a certain point when you drink so much alcohol that stopping the drinking becomes a danger to your health itself. Junkies, after years of heroin, when they come off too fast and too soon, they die because the systemic shock can't take it. All right? So they're too far down the line. Their gold is gone. They printed too much paper money. So they're betting that something they haven't done is going to save them. Everybody's got to bet. Everybody's betting. Now, the Chinese and the Russians, they're betting too. Is their bet any better? Well, we sort of think it is because we're into gold and silver, but what they do with it is anybody's bet. They don't know. They're up at the top of their tree. So I tell you, this is a very interesting period of time. The power, when we start looking at what they're doing, one of the problems of the powerless when they view the what I call them the temporarily powerful. Yeah. Like our dad was temporarily powerful. Yeah. Now I'm not speaking badly of him or good of him. I don't know who he was, and I know only. But our dads were temporarily powerful. All right. When we were kids and they had the power, hey man, that was it. Or our moms, our parents. Now we're older. Their power is waning. Our power is coming up. It's all ebb and flow, ebb and flow, ebb and flow. All right. Now, the people who are temporarily powerless, like the kids, are just speculating on what their parents are going to do, thinking that what their parents are going to do is going to work. No, what their parents are going to do is going to have consequences. It's not necessarily going to work. Our parents had no more answers than anybody else did. They were just doing their best. They were making bets too. And that's the same thing with the elites. That's the same thing with the people who go to the Bilderberger conference. That's the same thing with the trilats. That's the same thing with the head of the communist parties. That's the difference. And at the bottom, the paranoia and the powerlessness gives rise to a mindset. Oh man, they're gonna eat me. Well, you know, I mean, hey, the chances are he could. Don't bet on it. All bets are off, especially now. Especially now. That is our hope. Especially now. I just got turned on to a concept called the theory of dissipative structures. All right?
Yeah, break it down for us.
All right. In 1971, a chemist, a Russian chemist named Ilya Prigogine, was awarded the Nobel Prize for his work in thermodynamics. The second law, especially the second law of thermodynamics, that everything is going down. It's entropy. The universe is in a state of entropy. It's declining. The Big Bang, and it's been going down ever since. Okay. And this is like the theory somebody pointed out. If you put a hot cup of coffee on your table, an hour later it's going to be cooler. Tomorrow it's going to be cold. All right. You leave a bicycle in the rain, eventually it's going to get rusty. All right. That natural order is going to, the entropic direction of natural order is down. All right. Well, he asked the question, well, why do new forms evolve? And they are. All right. I mean, things keep happening. And this is where he came up with the theory of dissipated structures. Structures do start falling apart, but at a certain point, things can happen in all areas of activity. That structure can either descend further, and this is what he called an inflection point, a bifurcation point. When that structure reaches that point, one of two things can happen. It can descend further into chaos and really fall apart, or it can spontaneously reorganize in a manner that it never had before. That is inherent in all structures, in all life forms, in everything. All right. And on the cover of his book, he had a cover of a picture of Shiva, the Hindu god. All right. Now, Shiva, there's Vishnu, who's the creator. Shiva is the destroyer. So he said, no, Shiva is the recreator through destruction. You know, if we had no destruction, those kings would still be sleeping with our mothers and daughters and everybody. And we'd be out there trying to grow watermelon. They'd be taking every one from us and leaving us one. The kings aren't doing it to us now. The bankers are. All right. So the really negative people go, oh, we're always screwed. Well, that's how it's been. But let me tell you something, Mike. I am the most positive I have ever been in my life. All right. And I say this in light of what I know. I have been looking at this probably as close as anybody has, came to my own conclusions because everybody comes to their own conclusions. I didn't buy any ideology off the shelf. I didn't become a Keynesian because I'm a liberal or become a Friedmanite because I'm a conservative. I had one question. Where the hell did the money go? What's going on? What's going on? And when I started looking at going on, man, it looked nasty. But you know what? I am the most positive I've ever been. I believe we are at an inflection point of the whole game, not just economic, spiritually, institutionally, the whole world. The world as humanity is at an inflection point. And before now, we've been at each other's throats. We've been trying. We're like people who wanted to swim in the water, and all of a sudden you get people hitting your head and getting kicked. And when everybody for themselves, all right? And you find out that your best friend is he's kicked you in the head. He's just trying to save his ass, or he's shoved you down because he's trying to get up. You knew the kid in grammar school, but this is what happens when you think like that. We are at an inflection point, and the way we have thought, the way we have handled things is either about to change or we're going to descend further into chaos. It's about to change where we begin thinking of all of us, where we begin thinking of us as a whole, where we begin thinking of us not as East, West, Chinese, Japanese, as men and women. We're on the same boat, and that boat is sinking unless we take control of it from the elites. The elites are running the boat into the water. They don't care. If they ain't top, they're going to destroy it. because they don't care. They have no answers either. But it's us in the hole, on the decks, who've been sleeping out in the cold. You know? And they've got us fighting with each other. The people, I tell you, I've never seen this country so divided. I had a friend for 40 years. We ain't talking. I mean, we did things for each other. We were in situations where our lives depended on. We aren't talking, Mike. We aren't talking. All right?
Over matter? Oh, I mean, over some personal matters?
Shit.
Disagreement on things.
Yeah. He went down the rabbit hole, and he considers me a chump of Soros. Screw, you know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't. We ain't talking, Mike. This is 40 years. 40 years through intense situations that you never want to be in your life that we were in.
Yeah.
And we aren't talking. All right. So you've got this boat that's the left people on the people on the boat are blaming the people on the right why the boat's going down. And the people on the other side are blaming them. Men are blaming women. Women are blaming men. Because the boys at the top have always ruled by divide and conquer. They've always ruled by divide and conquer. The easiest way to come in is take over time is get them fighting themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't. So the people in the tree and the bottom tree, they don't know it. All right, they don't know it. But you know what? And I know it's not going to stop until we reach that inflection point, and we are there in a very real way right now, Mike. Right now, collectively, humanity is in a place it's never been before. It's breaking up. Most of us only see the chaos and the trouble and what can happen when it breaks up. We are so tied into the old system. My metaphor is even the fucking slaves on the plantation hopes that when Massa goes to London for a refinance that he's going to get it. Because if he doesn't refinance the plantation, we're going to starve, or we think.
Yeah.
Maybe when Massa goes to London and doesn't get refinanced, his goons won't work for him and we can take over the plantation ourselves and start growing wheat and barley and corn and raising pigs and eating the loin instead of the skin. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's serious. So watch this. Let's so we are streaming live. So we having more people just chiming in. And so for those that are viewing, if you have any questions for Daryl Schoon, please let me know in the chat. And as always, the number above me is 1-833-LIVE-RTD. And so before we let Daryl go this afternoon, because we've been having a good chat for almost an hour. And so give us a call. Let me know if you have any questions directly where he can answer, or in the chat. I think I have one question so far. And so, Daryl, one of the questions someone posed, it says, how do you defend yourself against the storm you described? I'm assuming the tree metaphor.
Oh, yeah.
How do you protect yourself from when the tree falls? How do you get out of the way for that?
All right. The thing is this, is that I've always been, my study of economics, it was my study of money. When I started looking at this, I didn't understand money. I didn't understand economics. My background was political science, which is power. All right. Now it's been fast. I mean, I've been so a political junkie. I've never voted in a presidential election. All right. Because I feel totally powerless. I mean, you can go in there and swing. And I understand people who do it. To me, it's like going to Las Vegas and pulling on that little lever and thinking you're changing things, and collectively you do. All right. But, so I got nothing against it. But I grew up in the 60s where it was real intense. I mean, there were Molotov cocktails going around where I was. Okay. It was intense. Okay, so protecting myself in these times is a really good question. My first thought, and this is what I wrote back 10 years ago when I predicted economic collapse, gold and silver. Why? Because it was an economic crisis at that time. Okay, and I said we're going to have the collapse of paper money. One of the things I wrote in my book was, when stocks lose their value, that's a terrible thing. When homes lose their value, that's an even more terrible thing. But when money loses its value, it's the most terrible thing of all. All right. And so what I said was this. I said, to wind back the clock, the two most liquid assets in the world have always been, because business is exchange. You have to have somebody willing to take what you got, and you got to be willing to take what somebody else has got. Okay. Right. Gold and silver, somebody's always willing to take it. They know it. I don't care where you are. If you know anything, now you may not be willing to trade what you got. You may say, that's a pretty small piece for what you want from me. All right. But it has value. Now, if a guy comes up with some Ethereum cryptocurrency and you've never seen it before, no exchange. I don't even care if it's good. I don't even care if it's liquid. If he doesn't think it is, no exchange.
Yeah.
All right. So that's why I always said gold and silver, because when the crash happens, when the dust falls, there is going to be a reorganization. We don't know who's going to have the upper hand. All right. And I don't think the old paradigm is any way to predict the upper hand, because the old paradigm is really old. And the fact that we've been in this paradigm, I mean, look at one of the biggest things that changed it in our lifetime, Mike. The thing between men and women. I don't care what culture we're in. 120 years ago, Chinese men were breaking Chinese women's feet. So they walked around and they were cute. They crippled them. The whole goddamn culture crippled women at the top levels because they were cute when they walked around with broken feet.
Really?
That's what. Now there's more Chinese women billionaires on the earth than anywhere on the planet. You know, but you know what they had to go through to get there? They had to go through the Chinese Revolution. Millions died. Millions. The Chinese kill each other more than the Japanese even killed them. All right? I mean, I know the Chinese are uptight to the Japanese. Look what they did to each other. Look what we've done to each other. Look what we've done to ourselves. But all around the planet, men and women are equalizing. Not because you want it, not because you don't want it. It's happening outside of ourselves. What I'm saying, Mike, and this leads me to answer the question, something has happened here that you and I are not in control of, and neither are the elites. Buckminster Fuller said this, and that goes along with Ilya Prigoghine's theory of dissipative structures. The entity itself spontaneously reorganizes at a higher level. The entity itself reorganizes in a surprising way that nobody could have foreseen. All right? Bucky Fuller said, and he was so smart. You know, my friend was a very close friend of Bucky's. All right. And I saw Bucky once, and, you know, he had this image, he had glasses on. He was the smartest guy around. He talked about a better world and stuff like that. And I thought, man, this guy's an idealist. He talks a great game. I love what he says. You know, he's an inventor. He's a genius. And he's really a naive idealist. And then 10 years ago, my friend actually got me to read part of his book, Critical Path. And this is what Bucky said. He said, I very sure 50 years in the future, because making my predictions that far in the future, I would not threaten those in power, and they would let me say what I had to say. And I said what I said as if it were a fantasy, and people found me interesting, and their media gave me coverage. And in the 2 years before he died, he wrote a book called The Grunch of Giants, where he nailed corporations for what they've done. They sucked the money out from all economic activity. They've taken it offshore, leaving everybody in the dust. All right. But he said that at the end of his life, because he knew the powers that were would never allow him to say that when he was alive. And the year he died, he was given the Presidential Medal of Honor, the highest civilian award to any citizen in the United States. And his opinion of presidents was like, oh, man, you know, the tail on a dog.
Yeah.
You know, they can't move unless they do so at the behest of those in power. All right. Now you've got a tail on the dog who's nobody's dog except his own. And it ain't working any better. But that dog is really in trouble now because it's disconnected. It's falling apart. So the thing about what to do is this. I absolutely believe. Otherwise, I would not. I would be heavily medicated. All right. Knowing what I know. All right. I mean, I know some stuff. Yeah. All right. 10 years ago, when I first started writing about it, I was at a conference in San Diego. All these rich people were sitting there, we're talking, and, it's a big country club. And, the guy's out, we were introducing, and the guy looks at me, you're Daryl Schoon? He said, how can you think like that and be sane? My doctor told me I had to stop thinking about this or I'd kill myself. All right. Now, I know a lot more now than I did then about it. All right. And I knew a lot more than before he knew about it. I mean, I've known a lot of stuff. I know who they are. I don't have any illusions that they're going to save us. I don't have any illusions that the common man is going to save us. I don't have any illusions that the elites trying to save themselves are going to save us. All right. Bucky Fuller said this. There are two types of action on the earth plane. One, humanity. All right. Yeah. He called that class 2 evolution. Anything humanity does to either improve itself or to get an advantage over each other, anything it does, he says, is class 2. Class 2. That's humanity. All right. Ego-centered, collectively or individually. Ego-centered consciousness activity. Class 1 is the universe. What we call different. He said that's class 1. Bucky Fuller said in 1981 that the universe is now, humanity is now entering a period of unprecedented crises. Unprecedented crises. All right. A crisis intended to transform humanity from its presently competitive, warring, differences-based paradigm into a whole, collective, unified structure that is benefiting each other, all parts of itself, in peace and harmony and abundance. He says that's what it's doing. And he says humanity has a choice. Humanity has a choice in this. This is free will. He said we can either go along and move into this, or we can pull the plug and kill ourselves. The title of my new book proposal is Utopia or Oblivion, Humanity's Choice. That's where I'm at. Now, I've made my choice. I can't make my choice for you. I can't make a choice for that person who called in. I don't want to, because I don't want you to make my choice, and I don't want him to make my choice, even though we thought if everybody thought like us, the world would be better. Yeah. Screw you. I mean, that's something you think when you're a kid, in your 20s and 30s. No, man, if everybody thought like me, it would be good. Yeah. You know, people on the left think that, people on the right think that, people on the bottom think that, people on the top think that. All right? That's just humanity. Yeah. I don't believe that. I believe that we're each in our own thing. We have more power than we think. We're also part of this whole thing that we don't know. We're in a state of we're in a state of disconnection with each other and our source. All right? And when you're in that state of disconnection, the world looks very differently than when you were connected. All right? I have been trying to reconnect for 60 years or for 50. All right? I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm not that young. All right? And at a certain point, there was a momentary reconnection. And I went, holy shit! And I've been trying to connect it up ever since. Yeah. But, you know, and that's, you know, but that's what it is. And the world looks very differently when you're in that state. Now, when I'm talking to you, I am in that disconnected state like you and everybody else is. But I've had a bleed through. Yeah. And I know that bleed through is there. I know that it is class 1. All right. Everybody calls it different names, God, Yahweh, and they fight each other. Ah, man, he ain't God. He's Jehovah. Oh, he ain't Jehovah. He's screw them. You know, let those kids have at it in the yard, because they're going to. Yeah. They're going to. They're just arguing with each other about it because they got different names. All right. And when he said, how do you deal with it? On the physical level, on the monetary and economic level, gold and silver. But on the other level, this is bigger than money. Mike, this is bigger than money. You know, they say there's a Chinese saying called, may you be born at interesting times. And the Chinese go, we never said it. You know, there's no evidence we have said that word, that statement, you know. But because it had that thing of mystery and really truth to it, and the Chinese had this reputation of having all these bizarre, arcane, you know, observations, you know, that were true. Oh, they say, oh, it's a Chinese saying. It isn't, as far as I know, but the statement is true. May you be born in interesting times. And that was said to be a curse. Well, you know what? We're here. These are the most interesting of times. But what I believe is that we're here for a reason. Each one of us. We're confronted with issues that have never been resolved in the universe. They're huge, and they're inside of us. Issues of self-worth, issues of rage, terror, emotions. All right. I mean, you know, when we're talking about the economic changes going on, let me tell you something. I think the trigger is not going to be inflation or deflation. One of the triggers is going to be massive earth changes. Everybody, I've got graphs showing the growth of severe. I mean, it's been growing for, it's reaching an inflection point. All right. Yeah. That whether those 100 inches of rain in 2 hours, the hottest thing. I mean, I don't care if people are in denial, you know. I mean, let me tell you, I love people's mindsets. Yeah. Our mindsets are so strong. You know what a lot of those fundamentalist Christians think? Because literally they were told that the world was created in 7 days. They believe that dinosaurs didn't ever existed. Yeah. You can show them a dinosaur bone. You can carbon date it. That guy may have graduated with a degree in paleontology from the University of Oklahoma, and he'll look at you straight in the eye and say, they faked it in, and it's not that old. Yeah. All right? You will get Trump supporters absolutely denying anything he's done because they want to believe he's right. Want to believe totally he's right. You've got people who who believe, you know, global warming is a hoax, you know, because we can believe anything we want. And let me tell you something. Free will is a motherfucker. Free will is a motherfucker. It's a two-edged sword. It's a two-edged sword. And the problem with a two-edged sword is finding the handle. And most people are holding it by the wrong end right now. I think, in a way, and it's just a subjective opinion, I'm 73 years old, and I think I made some distance from one end of the sword to the other.
Yeah.
I think if I'm not holding the handle now, I know it's there. Or I think it's there. I mean, I may be deluded. Half of my friends are crazy anyway.
Yeah.
I may be crazy like them. But all I know is why I don't need medication to get up in the morning and know what I know.
Yeah. Well, hey, Daryl, we've been chatting for an hour now, and unfortunately, typically we get an actual physical call, but we've gotten a question or two. But it's been great having a chance to catch up with you. And what I want to do is, because a lot of people who might be tuning in late may not know exactly who I'm talking with. So your name is Daryl Schoon, and so I'm going to actually pull up your website here so people can see where they can find more of what you have done and what you got going on. And so I'm going to share my screen so people can see exactly what's going on. And so up here we have, oops, let me see. I ended my screen. So let me pull myself back up. Not sure if people can actually see my screen or not. Let me fix this. And so showing them your website, because you mentioned you have a new book coming out. So I want to definitely have an opportunity. Any time frame as to when the book will be released?
No.
Okay.
It's just right now it's in midstream. Hopefully midstream. Other people would say the water hasn't started to pour yet.
Yeah. So I have up on my screen here your website, drschoon.com. And so if people want to find out more, they can go visit this website here. I'll put the link below so they can find out more about your prior work and what you're doing now, who you are, where they can find you at, and things of that nature. So other than that, as always, it's been great having you on. I regret not having done it sooner. But any last things you want to share with the audience before we sign off?
Yeah. I want to tell, this is from my only point of view, that is not as hopeless as it looks.
Mm-hmm.
That there something is evolving, and it takes a tremendous amount of faith to hold yourself steady through these times. These are, and the times are going to get more consequential. It's not going to get better. It's going to get more intense. All right. And so what my feelings about everybody here at this time is don't give up. Don't lose your hope. Don't lose your faith. And don't implode. Don't go down, because that's the only thing that will guarantee it's going to get worse. All right. It's like they say, the saying, it's darkest before the dawning. It's true. And it's going to get a lot darker, but that dawn is coming.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Daryl, thank you once again for joining us on RTD Live Talk. It's been great, as always, catching up with you for this afternoon session. Wish you the best of luck. Definitely will have you on sooner, as opposed to how long it's been since we last chat. So I appreciate you taking time for me. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure you share this video if you found this informative, because this message was definitely jam-packed with a variety of subject matters that I think people need to hear about. So once again, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later for another RTD Live Talk, as well as any other additional news. And enjoy the rest of your day.